Now this video is going to be for all of you freshman football players out there. We're going to be going over my own personal freshman football experience and some lessons that I learned along the way. So first thing I want to start out with is the school that I was going to attend but ended up deciding to go to a different high school my freshman year very, very late in the process. I'm talking like June or like May, June in the process of deciding the high school that you want to go to. So for a lot of you guys 8th graders going into your freshman year, usually you decide the high school that you want to go to around February, March. You're early on in the process because you have to start the application process. So in the football season before my freshman year, so my 8th grade football season, I was getting like recruited or however you want to call it from a very, very popular school down here in Southern California called St. John Bosco. Now, a lot of you guys have probably heard of that school. A little insight on that school is that they recruit frickin' anybody and everybody, right? So if you're getting recruited by that school, just make sure that you're their guy, right? You don't want to make the mistakes that I made of thinking that you're the only guy that they're going to bring in, which is every situation though. You know, I was young, a little dumb. You think that, oh, well, if they're recruiting me, I must be the only one. I must be their guy. But then you show up to the campus to play 7-on-7 with them, and suddenly there's 8 to 10 other quarterbacks who are getting recruited just like you were. Now, with that being said, I wasn't completely like shocked by that. St. John Bosco is a very, very popular school, and they invited me to come out during the springtime to play on their 7-on-7 team called their Forvert team. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of that. Some of you California guys probably have. But I go there, and I was actually lucky enough to be one of the top 3 guys, right? So it was a guy who ended up going to Iowa State on a football scholarship. He was a quarterback. Another guy who ended up going to Stanford and currently plays in the NFL was on that roster as well, and then myself. So it was a pretty decent team. Like, we had a lot of talented guys. I think maybe about 7 guys from that team actually ended up going to the NFL, which is insane for a team, right? So I'm in that type of environment, but the entire time I just got this bad feeling and this bad vibe that the coaches weren't really high on me. They were recruiting this one kid who was more of he was like an ex-track star, very, very good athlete. You know, passing we were about even, but he was definitely a better athlete than me. And I, you know, actually overheard the coaches telling him that, hey, you're gonna have 4 years of this, you're gonna have 4 years of success here, all this stuff. So I knew it was time to go. I'm not going to fit into that situation, so it's time for me to pick another school. So I remember being at registration where we fill in the application, sitting there with my mom, and I just was like, hey, listen, I don't want to go here. So we left very, very late in the process, and then we were scrambling to try to find a school, and luckily we ended up finding a school, and that's what I'll talk about next. Now, the school that I ultimately ended up choosing after my short stint with St. John Bosco was the school called Servite. Now, Servite is in the same league. They call it the Trinity League. So Servite plays all the schools that you maybe have heard of. St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, they're big rivals with Mater Dei, and then like Santa Margarita High School, Orange Lutheran, that very, very powerhouse league called the Trinity League, right? So I ended up going to a Servite and attending Servite. Now, a little background about myself. There's a lot of information out there nowadays about like tackle football, right? Like, oh, head injury this, head injury that, and then some people on the other camp are saying that, oh, well, you need to play tackle football early, 10, 11 years old. Guys, I didn't play tackle football until my freshman year of high school, right? And I turned out just fine, and it's really not that hard to get used to. So if you're maybe a little hesitant about that, maybe it's your first time playing tackle into your freshman year of high school, don't worry about it, because I was in the same boat. But again, you know, I played a unique position. I played quarterback at the time, so it wasn't like I was getting hit all the time and had to make tackles. I probably made 2 tackles in my entire life off of interceptions, which is not a good thing, but that's my experience with having to tackle. So if you're on the defense side of things, you maybe want to play a little bit sooner. But anyways, long story short, I end up at Servite. Now, I get there, I don't know a soul. Like, where I grew up, everybody either went to Mater Dei or St. John Bosco. So as you can imagine, a lot of the friends that I knew going to St. John Bosco were very upset when at the last minute I kind of pulled a rug and just go to a different school, like up in the air, that nobody really ever attends, right? In my specific area where I grew up in. So I go there, I don't know a soul. We start out with like summer school, I guess you could call it. It's like advancement courses. I wasn't like dumb, but like it was, you know, like it was summer school. And so we were going to summer school, and I didn't know anybody. I was like just sitting alone at lunch, just because everybody knew everybody. They all lived down in Anaheim and Anaheim Hills, and everybody came from money. I didn't come from a lot of money, and so didn't really fit in at first, and then football starts, and that's when you start making friends. So if you're in a new environment, don't worry too much about it. As soon as you're on that football team, you'll have 100 new friends on the first day because you all have something in common, right? But so anyways, I'm on the team, and then, you know, the first day is like conditioning, we're doing stuff like that, and then they say, hey, we're going to break off into quarterbacks or your position groups, right? So they ask, oh, who's playing quarterback, right? And so obviously I'm playing quarterback, and then I see fucking like 15 other dudes raise their hands. So we go over there, there's 16 quarterbacks. So if you're in a situation and you're worried about competing with like 3 to 4 other quarterbacks, just know it could be a lot worse, right? So probably out of the 16, 12 were absolutely horrible. 4 were decent. I was one of them, thankfully. And then, 2 were probably competing for time, which is me and this one other kid who ended up playing football at Rice. And he was a pretty good quarterback, great dude, really cool guy. And we ended up splitting time our freshman year. But you're never going to guess the offense that we were running. We were running a wing T under center offense, and that's something I've never had experience with because I didn't play tackle football. So how was I able to deal with that? What are some things that I could what are some things that I could pass along to you when entering a new offense or a new system that you can learn? And that's what we're going to discuss next. Now, before we get into the rest of this story, you guys, if you're a football player and you want to gain weight in the off season, or if you're watching this during the season and want to keep weight, check out that very first link in the description below for our AG Labs whey protein powder specifically for athletes. This is the best tasting protein out there on the market, and this protein will help you keep on weight because protein consumption is so important to be able to maintain your weight but also gain weight. You want to consume 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or desired body weight if you are ultimately trying to gain. So let's say you're 160, you want to get to 170, you want to consume 170 grams of protein a day, and a protein powder is the best way to be able to achieve those goals. So guys, very first link in that description below. If you would like to get 15% off your first order, use the promo code FIRST15, FIRST15 at checkout. Get 15% off this protein powder for athletes. All right, so like I said, I have to split time with this other quarterback right now. I'll give you a little background on the situation. You decide what you want. But so like this other quarterback, grew up in the area. Head coach knew his dad really well. They were golfing buddies. And, there was a big dispute on if, he was truly just as good or better or whatever the case may be than myself. But again, I'm walking into this situation not knowing anybody. And I don't like to say the word politics because I think everybody uses that like, oh, they're politics, they're playing favorites. But, take with what you want. That's the situation I was dealt. And later on in my high school career, I was dealt a very, very similar situation. These situations always find a way of testing you, but you learn a ton from those situations. You learn how to compete and you learn how to actually be a true high school football player and even a college football player. This prepares you for the next level, right? So that's the situation I'm in. Got to split time with the kid, which is fine. Cool, whatever. First year of tackle, I just want to get reps. But the offense I'm in is a wing T offense. So what the hell am I going to do in a wing T offense? Most important thing, make the most of your opportunities. We had maybe like 4 or 5 pass plays because our coach was very, very old school, and I'll get to that coach in a second. But again, it was a lot of under center, reverse, hand, pull back, throw, and my routes were flats and over the top, like 10-yard, like crossers, right? And then slowly on as the season went, we started implementing some spread stuff, shotgun, throwing from there. But from a guy who's never taken an under center snap before, because I never played tackle before, and a guy who's never been in a wing T offense, and it wasn't even a popular offense. This wasn't like 30 years ago. This was a very short amount of time ago. Again, it takes reps. And what I can say to you guys is make sure that you are getting to practice early and you were showing it and you're staying late after practice to work on things that you are not maybe comfortable with, right? If you're new to an offense, new to a system, doing some things, you got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. There's no secret formula to be able to learn all these things that you could just skip the actual work that goes into it. So I was getting reps with my center, 25 reps before practice, 50 reps after practice, going through the footwork in my backyard, talking with my quarterback coach, hey, what could I improve on from this practice? You guys have to be obsessed with improvement, especially if you're a freshman, because you have a long way to go. You have 3 more years to be able to play on varsity when it actually matters, right? Now, again, freshman football does matter. I don't want to say neglect it, but again, guys, it's freshman ball. You're not even on varsity yet. Freshman film technically doesn't matter, so focus on improving and being the best possible player you could be even at the end of the season. Now, let's talk about how the season went. My first game ever was against Bishop Gorman High School. Some of you have probably heard of Bishop Gorman, but that's the level these Trinity League teams play every single week. So I think it was Bishop Gorman, Long Beach Poly, then we played St. John Bosco, we got to league, obviously, all that stuff, right? Absolute killers on those teams. I'll tell you this right now, that Bishop Gorman team had probably 4 or 5 dudes on that defense alone that all went to the NFL. First pass I threw was a pick 6. Not proud of that, but that's how it happens. But you learn from those types of mistakes, you guys. So best piece of advice I could give to you too if you're entering freshman football is don't be so worried about like, oh, if you have like a hard ass coach or a coach that's tough on you, because I know a lot of you guys probably have those worries because I was in that exact situation. The guy that was our head coach, ex-bodybuilder, drill sergeant type guy, would just get on your ass and yell at you for every little type mistake to the point where you're almost afraid to make a mistake. But I tell you this, you learn discipline from that. You learn not to make the same mistakes twice, and that's what I can tell you guys. That's the best advice I give you guys throughout football because you're going to deal with those types of coaches. You're going to be in situations that aren't the best. And so like, let's say for example, you have a coach who's really hard on people, you learn not to screw up the same way all that often because you know you're going to get chewed out. So I learned very, very quickly, hey, if I'm dropping an under center snap and he's on me because I've never played tackle football before, what do I got to do? I got to work on my under center snaps to make sure that that exact mistake doesn't happen twice. And if you just can limit the mistakes from happening twice, mistakes are going to happen. I wish somebody told me that as a player, but don't make the same mistake twice and don't make the same mental mistake twice, and you challenge yourself with that, you're going to have a much more successful career than what you would have if you're just so afraid to make a mistake and you don't actually work on those things. But that's the freshman football experience I had. That's what I could share with you guys because I'm sure a lot of you are going through something similar. So I hope this can bring you some value.